The reading today is from the New English translation of St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians. Having a lovely time, wish you were here, love, Paul.
Morning, sir. Morning, sir.
Thank you very much, and good evening, and welcome to the show. This is what we call in the business doing the opening spot. And I looked up the word spot in the English dictionary, and it means a nasty stain or blemish. A small swelling likely to pus. See pimple. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the opening pimple. A strange thing, actually, about appearing on television, that you do actually leave yourself open to, I don't mean criticism so much as remarks. I was in a bar quite recently, and a fellow said to me, he said, "I saw your last series twice." And I said, "Oh, thank you." And he said, "Do people send in funny stories?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Why don't you use some?" I said, "If you didn't like it, why did you look at it twice?" He said, "I couldn't believe it the first time." Actually, we were down, for this series, we were down in Eastbourne, and there was a conversation which was overheard by two ladies in a hotel, and one said, "Have you ever seen the Dave Allen show?" And the other one said, "No." She said, "It's on BBC Two." And she said, I didn't say I couldn't receive it. I said I haven't seen it." I had a lovely one from a fellow in the bar one night. He said, "I saw your show." He's in the hospital with a hernia. Very rapidly dealt karate chop. He's a tall fella. The question I'm asked actually is the glass. A tremendous amount of people sit at home wondering what I've got in the glass. They're always coming up and saying, "Is that whiskey? Gin? Brandy?" I can tell you here now, and I mean this very honestly, that is plain, honest to God, ginger ale. Another miracle. It just goes to prove that the power of prayer works. It is said that one drink is enough, two is one too many, and three is not nearly enough. But actually, a lot of people will disagree with me, but I would say that booze is the key to heaven. Truly, I mean that. A lot of people think if you want to get to heaven, spend your life on your knees. I tell you, if you want to get to heaven, booze, drink. Because when you drink, you get drunk. When you're drunk, you sleep. When you sleep, you do no wrong. And when you die, because you spent your life doing no wrong, you'll go to heaven. So if you want to go to heaven... We had a very famous man in Ireland once called Daniel O'Connell, one of Ireland's greatest wits, writers, poets, and politicians. And he once said of alcohol, he's also said that 10% of all car accidents in this country are caused by people who drink. And if you look at that logically, it means that 90% are caused by people who don't drink. All I can say is, why don't those people keep off the roads and let us drunks drive and save it? Surprising actually what people will do to get money to drink. For example, many years ago there was a farmer in Ireland who, when ploughing, dug up an ancient Celtic burial ground, littered with corpses. And he thought, by God, all them skulls. I'll go down to Shannon Airport and I'll wait for the Americans to come off. And I'll sell them the skulls. I'll tell them that it was an ancient king of Ireland. And them gobbeens, they'll give me the money and I'll get the money to pay. And he's down at Shannon Airport and there's an American there. He goes, excuse me, sir, are you an American? I said, I am, yes, sir. He said, would you like to buy a souvenir of old Ireland? And he said, what sort of souvenir? He said, I have, sir, in here. I have the skull of Brian Boru, the greatest king of all Ireland. The American says, who was Brian Boru? He said, Brian Boru was the fella that drove the Danes into the sea in 1014. And they cut off his head, and the head has been in our family for over 900 years. Do you want to buy it? He said, you really mean to tell me that is a legitimate head of a traditional Irish king? How much do you want for it? He said, I'll give it to you for a couple of quid. Pays him. And a month later, he's back in Shannon Airport. And there's the same American. But the fellow's been on the drink, and he doesn't remember. He said, are you American, sir? He said, I am. He said, would you like to buy a souvenir from old Ireland? He said, what sort of souvenir? He said, I have here, sir, the skull of one of the greatest kings of all Ireland, Brian Boru. He said, what are you talking about? You sold me the skull of Brian Boru a couple of weeks ago for a couple of quid. And he said, that one's smaller than the one you sold me before. And he said, ah, yes, but this was when he was a boy. There's a fellow on the microphone here I would hate to play poker with. You know, a thing we in the modern day are accused of is what we call a lack of consideration. And I wonder what consideration is. I suppose consideration is something we expect from other people which we don't give to them. But there are many different forms of consideration. For example, consideration as far as a woman is concerned is having her own way in all things. Consideration as far as a man is concerned to his mother-in-law is to stand up when she comes into the room, hold out the chair, push it in when she sits down, and not plug it in. Consideration to your doctor would be to remember only to get sick during surgery hours, and never on a Sunday. Consideration to the government in times of trouble is to vote the opposition in. Consideration on the part of a bride to the groom on the night of the honeymoon is to remember that he is not the best man. Consideration to your bank manager is to take your overdraft to another bank. Or consideration to your gravedigger when you die is to be cremated. As far as I'm concerned, what I would call the true epitome of consideration would be Judas with these 30 pieces of silver offering to pay for the Last Supper. But despite what people say, there are many very considerate people in this world.
Well, here we are again. I suppose you're familiar with this type?
Oh, yes.
Damn shame, really, isn't it? Christmas Day, peace on earth and goodwill to mankind. And what's Jerry doing? Dropping bombs on us. So, well, I suppose we better get on with it. I just unscrew these little screws here. There's one.
Sir.
I'll be slightly careful in case it's a booby trap. There's two.
Sir.
Here. I gently remove this plate here. If you could put it down here. Now, inside... I say, look at this. It's a Christmas present from Jerry.
Oh, sir.
To us. Huh?
You are allowed one last request.
I would like a drag of your cigarette.
Of course.
Grazie.
You're still alive. Thank God. That means the 845 hasn't left yet.
Okay, copper! Come and get us!
This is what you get, Lord.
I shall now read the last will and testament of the late Nathaniel Grimsdyke.
Yes, well, go on, go on.
I, Nathaniel Grimsdyke, of Nuffield Court, Lexton Crescent, Essex, well, in the county of Essex, in the kingdom of Her Majesty...
Oh, get on with it. Get on with it.
Queen Victoria, being of sound mind, leave my entire fortune, consisting of not 1 million,
No, no. You mean there's more?
not 2 million,
What, 2 million?
but 3 million pounds.
3 million pounds.
I leave all of this to George.
George, that's me. I'm George also.
To George. To George Arthur.
Yes, yes. I'm Arthur too.
To George Arthur. It's very unusual. To George Arthur. I can't seem to make out the last. I think it might be B.
B! Here! He's mine! Oh!
On the other hand, it could be a C.
She's mine, all mine! 3 million pounds!
And in the event of their decease, I leave my entire fortune to my friend and solicitor, Archibald Rumble. That's me.
The paradox is that we live in what we call a very affluent society, and at the same time we have a tremendous unemployment problem. And why do we have an unemployment problem? Well, I suppose we have an unemployment problem because basically it is the ambition of every working man to cut his working week right down to a minimum, and therefore to give himself more leisure time. And he gets that more leisure time, and what does he do? He gets bored. And to alleviate his boredom, he takes a part-time job. And does somebody else out of a job. And I think the only answer to unemployment is to give everybody work. Give the example, the fellow offers him a job, and he said, what do you want me to do? He said, I want you to go down to the crossroads outside the village and await the second coming. He said, the what? He said, the second coming. We are believers that there will be a second coming. The Messiah will come a second time. Now you go down there and watch for him. He said, just sit there all day and watch for him. He said, yeah. And off he goes. And he sits there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, a week, 2 days, goes on, a month. And after 2 months he comes back and he says, that is not, I'm giving it up. I'm not going to stay down there at the crossroads waiting for the Messiah to come up the road. He said, it's not only badly paid, it's a boring job. And the fellow said, yes, but you have it for life. It's a strange thing, actually. We live in what is more of a militant society. If we are not happy with what we can get by negotiation, we do tend to actually strike for things. And you get fellows struck. And a friend of his says, what did you strike for? He says, we struck for shorter hours. He said, did you get them? He said, I did. We're out of work. And what I would say, there are people actually who give more to a job than they take from it. For example, take a television news reporter who spends his life traveling to the world's trouble spots. And despite discomfort, hardship, not to mention personal danger, is prepared to give and take more from the job. This is Jeffrey DeWitt reporting the war-torn and besieged city of Santa Almondo. The rebellion is over. The rebels under Sancho de Vera have taken over the country. Sancho de Vera, president for only 1 hour, is in control. Already his supporters are out rounding up, shooting and murdering the supporters of the last regime. It is apparent that Sancho de Vera trusts nobody. In this massive purge, no one is safe. And I mean no one. Jeffrey DeWitt, BBC News, Santa Almondo. One way of ending the unemployment problem, I suppose. Get a fellow gets a job as a bus conductor on the bus. It's very crowded, and he's up the top of the bus, and he sees somebody coming down the stairs. And he sees he wants to get off. And he can't get down to ring the bell. So he's right beside the driver. So he goes tick, 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 on the window with a coin. And the driver puts his foot on the brakes and goes, and stops on 2 feet. And the people are all on top of one another and they're all scrambling up. And he whips back the window and he says, who did that? The conductor said, I did. He said, well, don't ever do it again. He said, why? He said, I used to drive a hearse. We live in what we call the age of automation. And people are very worried that the machine will take over for the man. But I don't believe it myself. I think a machine will always be what we call a machine, but a man is always an individual.
Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it.
about, especially in this day and age, is that we're worried by what we call the pressure of living. We're all trying to get away from it all. There's a story about a man in a bar, and he's very dejected, sad, down. And the barman said, "What's wrong with you?" And he said, "I'm sick." He said, "I'm sick of it all." He said, "I'm sick of my wife, children, the mortgage, the bills, the boss. I'm sick of all these pressures which are coming in on me. And they're beginning to destroy me." And the barman said, "You know," he said, "I had a man in here about 4 or 5 years ago, exactly the same as you. And he gave it all away. And he's the only man in the world who has discovered the secret of peace and tranquility. He has actually discovered, by inwardly looking at himself, the secret to pure happiness." And the fellow says, "Where is he? Where is he? Where does he live? Because I must find that secret from him." And the man said, "I don't really know. The last time I heard, he was living in the Himalayas." And he said, "That's it. I will go to him and I will find out the secret of happiness and peace and tranquility." And he leaves his wife, walks away from the job, deserts all what we call good living today. And for 7 years he searches for this man. And after 7 years of searching and seeking, he eventually arrives on a mountain and he finds that man. And this man has an aura of peace about him, of happiness. Contentment is written on his face. And he runs up to him and he says, "Are you the man who has discovered the secret of life, the secret of peace, tranquility, contentment?" He said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Give to me your secret. It's the only way that I can be saved." And he said, "The secret of peace and tranquility and contentment is never to argue, never to differ, never to try and impose your will on anybody else, to always be in agreement in everything." And the man said, "That's not the secret of peace and tranquility." And the fellow says, "All right, it's not the secret of peace and tranquility." Well, there. Get it back into your bottle, you bum. Well, we're searching for escapism. But we have it, because the greatest way to escape from anything, and I mean this, is to read. Get yourself a nice big fire with the flames flickering, a book, a large whiskey, and sit there and relax. You read a little, drink a little, warm your toes, read a little bit more, drink a little bit more, read a little bit more, drink a little bit more. Soak the book. Drink a little good old bone. And get yourself another book, because the one you got, you can't read the bloody line there. And put yourself in the bowl and just sit and relax. And dream yourself into another world.
Oh, no, my prince, you must learn to parry. I could have killed thee.
No, Sir Griswold. My armor would have protected me.
My young prince, if you want to be as great a warrior as your father, the king, you must learn that all things have got a weakness. If I in battle could get you to raise your left arm, there is the most vulnerable point. You just remember that.
Well, how's it all going, eh?
Well, You're here.
Next time, kindly pick a bigger window.
Polonius dead? My darling Ophelia dead? And Yorick dead? Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him well.
To thee or not to thee? It's a question. But it is no better in the wind to succour the sons and arrows I afraid to talk to.
My dearest Queen, I am near to death. You have been a wonderful wife and mother. Take care of my son. Teach him to be honest and a worthy successor to my crown. And as for you, my love, weep not. I would not have thee sad. Nor would I have thee a widow. Thou art far too young and beautiful to spend your life in widowhood, mourning me. My dearest, I give to you the key to your chastity belt. Made me cry, that. Bloody women, you're the same all over. Thank God. We come back to reality. And the reality of this situation is that we have a number of items to show you, which we hope that you will laugh at. But if we look at it realistically, there is a chance that you might not laugh at them. But I'd like you to remember that the man who never laughs is a man who never laughs. And the man who laughs loudest laughs longest. And the man who laughs longest laughs alone. And a man who laughs alone has got a filthy mind.
Robbery! Robbery! Read all about it! Robbery! There in our street, robbery! Thank you, Al. Thank you. Robbery! There in our street, robbery! Read all about it!
You all right out there, darling?
I'm fine.
What's for dinner?
Oh,
That reminds me, how is your mother?
she's fine. There's terrific excitement here as we come to the last stages of this international 400 yards freestyle. And it's the British boy in the lead, but only just. Oh, he's tiring, yes. And this could be trouble. The Finn is close behind.
Well, I told you it was possible.
Dean Swift once said that we have just enough religion to hate, but not enough to love. And religion basically is based on what we call fear. We are told that if we're good, we will go to heaven, and if we are bad, we will be cast down into everlasting flames. And you get the two gentlemen talking one time to the other. He said, "Do you believe in heaven and hell?" He said, "Certainly not. I'm an atheist, thank God." I personally believe there is a heaven for atheists. There's nobody there, but there's a heaven. You get in Ireland, actually, you get what we call the fire and brimstone preachers. And you get the fella in the pulpit, and he's saying, I will tell you about the great judgment day. Guess who that is? I will tell you on that day, the great book will be opened. And all your sins, whether mental or physical, will be on that book. And the Lord will banish the wicked. And there will be a great weeping and a gnashing of teeth. There's an old woman down the front. She says, I don't have any teeth. I said, teeth will be provided. I am asked, actually, by people. They ask me. They say, do you get into trouble for telling religious gags on television? Do I get into trouble for telling religious? Of course I do! And we got some more trouble coming up. Good morning. Morning. The vicar won't be long. Are you ready, my son?
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned greatly. Not only have I transgressed the laws of God, but also those of man. I have had unworthy thoughts and committed shameful deeds.
I see that you have obviously sinned. For your penance, I would like you to pray on your knees for 1 hour. And when you have these thoughts again, please cancel them out.
So, that's 5 winners on a trot.
That's right.
I make that £35.
That's exactly what I mean.
I don't know how you do it.
One for me. One for you. One for me.
And so we say farewell to the dear departed. A man known to all his friends as the Joker. A man remembered by his friends for the laughter that he brought into their lives through the thousands of little harmless, practical jokes that he perpetrated. And so we say farewell.
Just had a phone call from Rome. I'm out again. All Christian religion is what we call based on the Bible. Now, I don't know if you've ever read on the Bible, but the Bible begins with Adam and Eve, who had 2 sons, Cain and Abel, and Cain killed Abel, and therefore left Adam, Eve, and Cain. And they sired the human race. And if you look at that logically, it means that we are all born from an incestuous relationship. And the thing I do say about incest is that at least it's kept in the family. I don't know if you've read about Abraham and his wife Sarah, who gave birth to Isaacs when she was 91 years of age. He was 100 at the time. Methuselah, who was 969 years of age, only had 1 son. I suppose he tried it once and he didn't like it. But actually, one of the great stories of the Bible is where God put his trust in one man, and that man was Noah and his family.
What is it, Noah?
I have just heard from God. There is to be a great flood. It is going to rain for 40 days and 40 nights. The whole earth will be covered in water. No. God has told me what to do. We shall be saved if we do what God told me. Gather round, because we must construct and you must...
We must hurry! The rains are beginning!
Are you sure he said park?
Eh?
Are you sure he said park?
Of course he said park. He's my God!
There is no go from one beginning of the end of the world to another beginning of the end.
Days of searching. And I'm the only one left on earth. A man! A man!
Woman!
Another man! Another man!
Mine! No! Mine!
Men.
Thank you very much. Good night, and may your God go with you.